Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm riding the Honda Navi, and it's I'm recording this on November 22nd. It's around 50 degrees. It's getting close to being sunset. I hadn't taken the Navi out for a ride for a while, so I figured I'd take it out, grab some video. And I'm shooting with the GoPro Hero 11 Black Mini, which I don't think I've used for any of the videos riding anything. Alright, after an excruciatingly long red light, back on the move. Yeah, I'm using the GoPro Hero 11 Black Mini. Haven't used that in too many videos yet. It's nice because I have a couple helmets that have helmet mounts. This thing's pretty small and light, so I can attach it to the helmet. You don't really feel it too much. I'm going to stick some of the heavier cameras on here. You definitely do. So the Insta360 1RS 1-inch 360 camera, pretty heavy. Well, relatively speaking, it's not heavy in the scheme of all things that exist. Just in terms of action cameras, it's pretty heavy and kind of top heavy. So I think it weighs about 1/2 pound, as opposed to these action cameras typically weigh a bit less than that, unless you add a bunch of gear to them or put them in a heavy case or something. And I figured too, I'm shooting in the super view mode in 5.3K, and I'm shooting in the 8:7 aspect ratio, because I figured if I want to cut a video down to share on Instagram or the TikToks, it's easier to make a 9:16 vertical video from that aspect ratio than a standard 16:9. And I believe that the other thing too is the sensor is taller. It captures, more above and below the image. So even if you put it in 16:9, it's just cropping off some. So you can record it in that aspect ratio and crop it yourself instead of letting the camera decide how to crop it. And as a side note, it should make it a little bit easier to crop the videos for other social media apps where they want full screen video. And the Navi's got 1,000 miles on it now. It's got 1,035 miles. Still going strong. Since it's been cooler and it's been in my garage, I did have to use the choke and such to get it started up and let it run a little bit, as opposed to if it's warmer, you can just start it up, let it go. But that's to be expected with this kind of bike. I'm going down Bardstown Road, and there's a lot of construction going on here because they're converting a lot of the roads. If you see these signs above the road with the X's and the arrows, it used to be that there was parking during some part of the day, then the other part of the day there were lanes that were through traffic, and then they're essentially getting rid of that and just making the right lane mostly parking. And down further, they're adding in islands with trees and stuff. That's supposed to, in general, slow the road down, slow down the traffic, make it a little bit safer for pedestrians, which I'm sure everybody hates. And right now, there's parts of the road I've seen people say are confusing because it just kind of comes to a stop. I mean, I don't typically find this stuff too confusing. There's some, the little cone thingies are missing the tops. So, okay, I'll retract that. That was a little bit confusing. But I think they're changing things up so that there's more of the road that's off-street, you know, or side of the street parking. Because one issue in a lot of the businesses in this area face is there isn't really adequate parking. And I guess that's like a bus lane or something. I've seen people complain about this part where that lane kind of, you know, always kind of narrows down to this stoplight. So this road's been a work in progress for a while as they do some of the renovations and changes. I mean, I don't typically drive all that much in rush hour traffic. And if I do, I'm typically not going north, going in this direction. It is getting a little bit chilly out. It's a little bit chilly. Yeah, so this road will probably look a little bit different next year once they've completed all this. But in general, this kind of road is, you know, the kind of place that the Navi thrives. Relatively low speed, or not low, but, you know, a commuter type ride where you're not trying to hit 50 miles per hour the entire time. Because this bike can do 50, but you need to have flat ground, not a ton of wind in your face, and plenty of time. You're just trying to be able to hit it in any condition at any time, regardless of what your weight is. That might be tough. It can do about 45 in most conditions, unless you're going up a steep grade, in which case it will do significantly less. This is another intersection that can take a long time to get through, depending on what the lights do. Luckily, did not have to wait through this one. But yeah, it's coming up on Thanksgiving. Will be this weekend. Hopefully, we'll get this edited and released before then. And then after that, Christmas is coming up very soon as well. Time just flies once it hits that time of year. This is another intersection where they're doing a little bit of work and changing over how some of this works. I am interested to see how the this lower light footage does on this GoPro, because the sensor is slightly larger than the other GoPros that I have, the 10 and the 8. Slightly larger. Not enough to make a huge difference, but we'll see. This is another light that can take forever. If people are trying to turn left. And then on the right over there, that's the Cave Hill Cemetery. Famous Cave Hill Cemetery where people like Muhammad Ali are buried. And it is a very large, gorgeous property. Very calm. You're not allowed to take motorcycles or bikes through, so I haven't really ridden through before and recorded video. You might go sometime on foot. Just because you haven't been there, it's, you know, a very huge cemetery that has some like lakes and ponds and just a ton of trees and grass. It's a very large area. I would assume if you want to have, you or your family would like to be buried there, I'm assuming it's pretty expensive. They did have signs and information about they have openings, but I have no clue what that cost. Heading towards downtown Louisville. I won't make this a super long ride because I'm personally don't need to go for a super long ride. I just like to not let the bike sit too long and take them out and ride them around a little bit, so they don't just sit there and accumulate dust and have gas in it that goes bad. Because this is the time of year, especially if you're in the Kentucky area or surrounding areas. Here it's very common for it to go from highs in the 70s and nice and warm, even in the 80s sometimes, just be warm, and then within a couple days dip and be cold enough that it snows a little bit, and then stay that way for a few days, then go back up. It's very common to have erratic weather like that, and I'm not a huge fan of that, because the weather changing like that can cause you to get super dry and chapped skin and make you get sick. Yeah, so I'm not going to go all the way through downtown Louisville just because I've been through there quite a few times on different videos, which I guess I can link to some. I've gone through at nighttime and gone to different areas. Yeah, but the Honda Navi is a bike I'm still having a lot of fun with. I've learned the things that it's definitely not for. It's not what I think a bike you'd want to get if you want to do a lot of long distance cruising. Mostly because you end up in those scenarios going down roads that have higher speed limits. And this bike is one that you can do, 45 on. Pretty consistent. 50, you need a little space. To do above 50, you need to be, I guess, going downhill with the wind at your back. It's not going to hit high speeds. But yeah, so this is some parts of downtown Louisville that are kind of between the area I just kind of went past and didn't go through is Nulu, which is Market Street, which is where there's upscale restaurants and bars and entertainment and shops, and then some of the areas are immediately surrounding it haven't really been built up or developed as much, and then you're pretty close to the edge of the Highlands. You're not too far from Germantown. There's a lot of cool architecture and buildings, different areas. A lot of the stuff down here in this specific stretch is a little bit newer. Should be turning the light here, so I'll go down here. I'll cut across Broadway, and it'll take me out to Germantown. Then I can wrap up. And one thing with this new GoPro, the GoPro 11s, I've seen people complaining about them overheating. I know when I had I used the 11 a few times, testing it like in my car when the heat was on, and by the end of recording for like 20 minutes, it was pretty hot. Right now it's chilly out, and I'm having it on the outside of my helmet, so I don't think it's going to be getting too overheated at this point in time. But this is, also when it's in the fall and the winter, or not in the winter, in the summer, when it's warmer, all the time, then that becomes more of a concern. Now I'm at Broadway, which is a street that runs through downtown Louisville and goes out to, goes from the West End to the Highlands. And two, I've only got the ISO on this. I have the maximum set to 800, so hopefully it's not too dark. My plan is to go down through here and drive past these old buildings and then wrap up. Yeah, so this is just a few blocks kind of from the Germantown area. And then if you keep going, you can go to downtown, or not to downtown, you can go to like Old Louisville or Shelby Park. There's a bunch of neighborhoods kind of in proximity to here. And this is on Clay Street. I'm going to loop around and go past these buildings and wrap up. There's a lot of cool buildings down here that are not, in active use. I think they're being developed for something. That would make a killer location to do like photo shoots or video shoot. But without having permission from the owners and likely payment and a project that makes sense to do all that for, not doing that myself. But I've seen people share pictures shooting photos at some of those buildings because you get like a city skyline, which looks really cool. I'm not sure exactly. I guess you have to know who owns the property to get permission. But now I'm at East Kentucky Street. I just went ahead and took that turn without waiting because a nimble bike that can do so. Alright. This will be getting close. Up ahead there's a water tower. There's this building here that used to be the Tim Faulkner Art Gallery, but that has moved to a new location. And if you're not from the area aware of that, it was an art gallery that have different installations and displays, and they had a bar attached to it. I went there because they had done some different screenings of short films and things like that. And at the prior location for the art gallery, I had gone to a friend's wedding. I'm not sure where it's moved somewhere. And this building up ahead is the one I was talking about, where it's a cool old building from, decades past that's still there, that I think we're talking about doing remodeling of that into something else. Or maybe it's just for lease. Retail, office, events, a restaurant. I think it needs a little bit of work to accommodate those things, but it is a very cool looking building. I'd love to be able to go up on top of it and get some video and pictures, but may not be able to do that. So I'll drive past that and then wrap up. Now, some of this area over here also looks like it could be the setting of a horror film. But up ahead there's train tracks. Again, I'm not sure how much all this is visible because it's low light, but yeah, so those are the buildings where I think it'd be really cool to go up there and shoot some video if you got permission. But yeah, so I was riding the Honda Navi around Louisville, Kentucky using the GoPro Hero 11 Black Mini and riding around in the November fall weather where it's kind of cool. But yeah, that'll wrap it up till next time. Later.